ready to go, and the fans have filed into the Value City Arena for basketball, presented by Jeep here on BTN, as we've got the Ohio State Buckeyes beating the High Point Panthers in the final game of the non-conference schedule. And alongside Sean Morris, my name is Jordan Burnfield. Welcome to Columbus. Let's take a look at the starting lineups, and they are presented by Jeep. For the Ohio State Buckeyes, Andre Wesson and Caleb Wesson, the brothers, are a tandem that have been tough to beat. Caleb, the reigning Big Ten Player of the Week. On the flip side, though, Sean, the High Point Panthers come in with the 22nd best scorer in the nation, and that is Jahad Proctor.
Jahad Proctor, to your point, 22 points per ball game, 51% from the floor. This is a very backcourt-heavy High Point Panther team coached by that gentleman, Tubby Smith, and gentleman is the appropriate word for that guy. One of the quality people you'll meet, not just in the game of college basketball, but throughout your life. Had an opportunity to visit with him prior to the game today. Just an outstanding guy and representative of his university.
603 lifetime wins for Tubby Smith, 6-6 in his first season with High Point, and a homecoming for him. Of course, played at High Point in the Hall of Fame at High Point, and now their head coach. And back here in a Big Ten arena, where he has coached many times, former coach at Minnesota, among other stops. And so away we go, the final non-conference game for Ohio State and High Point. C.J. Jackson will start it out for the Buckeyes.
And High Point's going to have to rotate some help on Caleb Wesson. They're giving up a lot of size. Look for double teams, especially early, to come from different angles and at different speeds.
Andre Wesson muscling it up and puts it in.
That was an extremely difficult shot. I mean, his dribble took him behind the backboard.
Ball will stay with High Point.
Degree of difficulty on the opening basket, extremely high.
There's Chris Holtmann in his second season with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Of course, Big Ten Coach of the Year last year. Incredibly, Holtmann has already won Coach of the Year in 3 different conferences.
One of them being the Big South, of which High Point is a member, along with the Big East, and last year the Big Ten award as well. And watch defensively, Luther Muhammad on the leading score, Jahad Proctor for the High Point Panthers. Luther Muhammad has really established himself here early on in his Columbus career as just a tremendous on-the-ball defender.
5 to shoot now for High Point. Into the lane, that shot goes up from Ricky Madison off target, but able to corral it. Now here is Whitehead, who puts it up, and that one won't fall, but another offensive rebound, and he loses to Luther Muhammad. Muhammad,
nice
the drive, the foul, and the bucket.
Oh, Jordan. The freeze, the fake, and then the ability to turn the corner. Watch right here. That little rip through, he froze the defender, and then if you're going to give the foul, make sure Muhammad can't get the ball above his shoulders for a chance at a three-point play. But it started with Muhammad on that ball reversal, catching the ball in basketball position. He didn't have to drop his knees. He was already there, able to turn the corner.
Luther Muhammad completes the three-point play. 13th ranked Buckeyes come into this game at 11-1. They've already got a couple of conference wins from those early Big Ten games. Finishing out this non-conference schedule, and a team that I think, Sean, yet again, maybe wasn't picked to be as good as they are, but exceeding expectations.
Just doing it on the defensive end, there's a great example with the active hands by C.J. Jackson. To your point, Jordan, this is a team last year that had the Player of the Year in Keita Bates-Diop, and were very top-heavy in terms of some experience. That experience moves on. You have to incorporate a lot of new guys, but they've been able to have this outstanding start because of their willingness to give it up on the defensive end of the floor and share the ball on this end of the floor. 28 made field goals versus UCLA last time out, 26 via the assist.
Mentioned UCLA, they won that game last week, 80-66 in Chicago. Here's Luther Muhammad for 3, too strong, and the rebound comes to Whitehead.
And a nice job by Whitehead of blocking out the larger Wesson there. Took him underneath the basket.
Madison, the feet underneath, and the lay-in from Curtis Holland III.
An example there by High Point of utilizing the defensive intensity against the Buckeyes. What I mean by that is that they're overplaying so much. High Point recognized that. They plant the foot and they go back door once they got outside the three-point arc. There's that double team.
Yep, the double on Caleb Wesson. And And a foul coming up against High Point.
Now you utilize, once you hit that outside of the three-point arc and you have isolated and cleared out that side of the floor, it makes it really available for the back door. And because Muhammad got caught ball watching just enough, the weak side help was a little bit slow rotating over. Nice execution by the Panthers.
Brandon Camgo called for the foul, his first. And now another whistle against High Point. This one will go against Jordan Whitehead, the senior.
His first team score.
Already 4 fouls against High Point the first 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, and they're really struggling because they're giving up so much size as to how to defend Weston. They've done a pretty good job of coming with the double from different angles, but one-on-one, there's no way that Whitehead's going to be able to handle Weston on his own.
Caleb Weston, 6'9", 270. And he's going up a guy in Whitehead who's 6'5", 235. And now another foul on Jordan Whitehead.
34, Jordan Whitehead, his second team spit.
I mean, there's no question. You grabbed the jersey, you grabbed up top. If you threw a chair in there, you'd have a pay-per-view. There's no question that was a foul. And, you know, Whitehead really has no chance down there, especially when Weston takes you down underneath the basket, Jordan, then comes in with that strong duck in. That's a really tough assignment for Whitehead.
Whitehead, a kid who earned a scholarship this year, began his career as a walk-on at High Point, now having to go up against the Big Ten Player of the Week. C.J. Jackson spins into the lane. There's the kick, the 3-try, around the rim and out for Keyshawn Woods. The Buckeyes keep, and Jackson drains a 3.
Nice ball movement there again, showing the unselfish play by the Buckeyes. It started with the hustle by Andre Weston, keeping the play alive. Then the extra pass from Muhammad made that open 3 possible.
Quick 6-point advantage for Ohio State. And to shoot now for High Point, but the foul coming up against Woods. That's his first.
Keyshawn Woods, the transfer, graduate transfer from Wake Forest, came in to Columbus as a 43% career 3-point shooter. But I tell you what, his willingness to come in and deliver big shots he did against Cincinnati, against Creighton, and last time out versus UCLA. How about this line? Didn't have to score a bunch. 10 assists, no turnovers for Keyshawn Woods. As a result, he's leading the conference in assist-turnover ratio right now.
Yeah, he's been really impressive, and a guy that was recruited by Chris Holtman when he was at Gardner-Webb, so he's known the kid for a long time. And now gets a chance to coach him here at Ohio State. Turnaround jump shot goes through for Caden Sanchez, and the kid who went to St. Francis de Sales High School here in Columbus, has a lot of family and friends here, gets on the board for High Point. Weston a 3, that's off target. The rebound by his brother, and Andre's 2 tries won't go.
I don't think that was the shot that Coach Holtman wanted from Caleb Weston. You can get that anytime. Go inside. It's paid dividends for you.
Caleb Weston on the season, a 30% 3-point shooter. That pass stolen away. Jihad Proctor going to the rack and finishes.
Nice job by Proctor. He hadn't been able to catch the ball with Muhammad guarding him, but here, active defensive hands and a nice job of sliding around the backpedaling defender to avoid contact.
Proctor, the transfer from Iona, played in the NCAA tournament back in 2016. Now the leading scorer in High Point. Kyle Young down on the deck. And brings us to a timeout on the floor.
Ohio State coming off a performance, Jordan, where they shared the ball extremely well. That's carried over in their final non-conference game in Columbus. They're struggling right now against High Point.
8-6, Ohio State, the early lead on High Point. 15:26 to go here in the first half as we welcome you back to Columbus alongside Sean Morris. I'm Jordan Burnfield. Thanks so much for joining us, Sean. Ohio State 11-1 on the season so far. Caleb Weston, the reigning Big Ten Player of the Week, and he had a great game last time out against UCLA.
A double-double for the sophomore Caleb Weston. Active on the glass. Of his 12 rebounds, 8 were of the offensive variety, showing you the variety in his offensive game. If you let him set up shot down low, whether you're UCLA or High Point, it's lights out. And as this whole Ohio State team has done throughout the tenure of Coach Holtman, they've really hung their hat there, and the big fella, no exception.
Luther Muhammad trying to get the shooting touch going, knocks down the triple.
I really like this kid. I mean, he gets after you defensively. If you leave him open, he can knock down shots, and he is more happy when he makes a good pass than when he finishes a play himself. A guy you would just love to play with.
Muhammad, 6 of the first 11 points for Ohio State. Now a turnover by High Point. Buckeye basketball.
To the point about the pride he takes on the defensive end of the floor, with the exception of the breakout on the steal, Jahad Proctor, who came in averaging 22 points per ball game, has really not been a factor, let alone even been able to catch the ball with the freshman Muhammad drawing that defensive assignment.
Luther Muhammad, a kid that when Chris Holtman was recruiting him, went to one of those 8 a.m. AAU games and watched the tenacity of Muhammad on the defensive end of the floor and said, I want this kid wearing Buckeye scarlet and gray. Not so bad on the offensive end either. Nice job of getting his feet set, and good recognition by Ohio State as High Point, because of the foul trouble, switching up, going to a little bit of a zone defense to give Ohio State a different look. Now a foul coming up against Musa Jallow. That'll be his first. He just checked into the game. Sophomore from Bloomington, Indiana. Because of that foul trouble and the fact that Ohio State was able to get Caleb Wesson going early, the biggest player on the roster for High Point, who doesn't see a ton of minutes at about 6 per ball game, Sam Berlin, is already checked into the ball game for Coach Tubby Smith. Good communication defensively by Ohio State. Excellent job. They've kept that ball on one side of the floor. As a result, Ohio State's only had to defend half their defensive real estate. And at the end of the shot clock, High Point with a violation. Tremendous. That was outstanding team defense. The communication, talking on the switches, the movement of the feet, really a nice job. And when you seal off half of the defensive end of the floor, boy, have you done your job. There is Jallow now for Ohio State. They go inside for Caleb Wesson. And a steal by Proctor. Down the floor. One too many passes. Yep, they had a 3-on-2 break. It's lost on the floor, and a jump ball. Possession will be kept by High Point. But a nice job defensively by High Point. They've rotated from where the double team has come on Wesson, and Wesson made a rare poor passing decision out of the double team. Rather than kick it right back out on the same side of the floor, he tried to go cross court. High Point was able to jump the passing angle. Unfortunately for the Panthers, they weren't able to convert it because of one too many passes on the break. Well, because of the size disparity between these two teams, that's one thing that High Point, I think, is trying to manage all the way through this game. You get a 3-on-2 break. Normally, I feel like you might go up stronger, but you're looking at these big guys for Ohio State going, can I shoot over them? And they also got too close together on the break. As a result, one defender for Ohio State could guard two. As a result, they were able to negate that opportunity at the rim. That pass through the hands and a turnover by High Point. That's Rob Peterson III. Peterson's dad, Buzz, an assistant GM for the Charlotte Hornets. College teammate of a guy named Michael Jordan. I wonder whatever happened to him. Yeah. Hopefully things turned out okay. Yeah, I hope so. There's a 3-try in the corner from Washington, off target. Down to Madison, and now back the other way with Kamga. Kamga also pretty prolific score for High Point, about 15 points per ball game. So this is a very backcourt-heavy offensive attack for High Point. After the transfer from Northeastern, Jamal Wright has that one erased by Kyle Young. Yeah, Wright turns the corner, and Kyle Young says, Wright, you were wrong. 7 to shoot now for the Panthers. Washington deflects that out of bounds. Nice active hands. And so many times,
Jordan, it's not the fact that you necessarily come up with a steal, but so many teams track deflections, because what that does is it disrupts the offensive flow of the opponent. This is a great example of it right here with what Ohio State's been able to do on this end of the floor.
3 seconds to shoot now. Right to the top of the key. Madison hits at the buzzer. It's a 2 for Ricky Madison.
And a good use of a misdirection dribble. You get the defense flowing one way, then you kick it back. Nice execution and end of shot clock situation for High Point.
Here is Jallo from the elbow. Off target, the rebound to Peterson.
That kind of came off his hand funny. I think it might have slipped out of his hands as he went into a shooting motion.
Kamga will drive on Young. Got too far under the hoop. Washington and Young runs out.
Nice pass, and that's rare. Kyle Young comes in leading the conference in field goal percentage. He hesitated. He didn't need that little rhythm dribble. He needed to go right up after that nice bounce pass delivery.
And Young at just about 70% from the field. What a weapon he's been off the bench for Ohio State. Here's Peterson in the corner. That one too short. Young the rebound.
Yeah, they need to reverse the basketball here.
And now Washington, a little too strong as well.
They made it easy, Jordan, for High Point to defend them. They kind of had the favor returned to them. That possession, it was almost played exclusively on the right side of the floor. You need to reverse the ball and force High Point to defend all the defensive real estate.
Ohio State hasn't scored in 3.5 minutes. Free try from the corner is good. That's Jamal Wright.
Well, he tried his luck at the rim. That didn't work out. He says, you know what? I'll go out to 19-9 and see what happens. It'd be a good time for a post touch. You've kind of gotten away from what allowed you to build a little bit of a lead here.
Young signaling for Woods to come around him, and he hits the jumper.
And the nice job by Woods of letting Young clear after he set the screen. If he makes that dribble too soon, it's going to take his defender with him, because as Young was able to clear out, it took his defender, and that little hesitation by Woods allowed the necessary space to create itself.
Berlin underneath over Jallo, no, but Peterson there to clean it up.
And when they go in at halftime, I have to believe that that's going to be a point of emphasis for Ohio State. They've been beaten to a lot of offensive rebounds by High Point, especially here early, so trust me, they'll talk about that when they get to the break.
Musa Jallo, the 3 try, too strong. Wright racing across, a 3 try. Kamga, it's good, and we're tied at 16. Brandon Kamga drills the 3, and High Point making a run.
High Point very backcourt driven. Kamga, big reason for that at 15 per game. 35% of the time he does that for High Point.
Men's basketball on BTN is presented by Jeep. Hurry in for great deals at the Jeep Big Finish sales event. And brought to you by State Farm. Here to help life go right. Talk to a State Farm agent today. Back here in Columbus at Value City Arena alongside Sean Morris, I'm Jordan Burnfield. So far, Luther Muhammad carrying the offense for the Buckeyes.
His threes became available because he started the game attacking the rim for a three-point play. Nice recognition, getting his feet set while the pass was on its way to him. He's a 40% three-point shooter. That just adds to his defensive prowess. And on this end of the floor, I'm going to be very surprised, Jordan, if the ball does not find Caleb Wesson here in this possession. They got away from going inside.
Muhammad gets inside. This time gets it to Caleb Wesson.
Nice job by High Point of taking him out of his comfort zone. And then Wesson did not do the smart thing. You need to chin the basketball. You've already dribbled into the corner. Then what you have is essentially 2 extra defenders, Jordan. You have the baseline and the far sideline really hemming you in, and then Wesson didn't need to go behind the back. Good job by High Point of mixing things up defensively.
Double team works, and now the Panthers with an opportunity to take the lead here on Ohio State. Go inside. Caden Sanchez goes around Wesson and flips it off the backboard. Never got it to the rim. Here's Andre Wesson. That three is off target. Cameron racing ahead and lays it in to give the Panthers the lead.
And a really nice job of putting the shoulder to the rim. That did not allow the shot blocker to exercise the length that is enjoyed right now by Ohio State. And High Point essentially beating Ohio State to just about every loose ball here in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Denny Slay just checked into the game. Gets it off Proctor. That long three is off target. The rebound to Caleb Wesson.
Earlier in this non-conference slate, remember, Bucknell came in here and gave Ohio State everything they wanted. And you could tell that High Point did a very good job of studying what Bucknell did well in terms of double teaming and then shooting threes in transition.
And High Point looking good here early. So far, the Buckeyes 7-1 here at Value City Arena. They're in a fight so far in this first half with High Point.
You can see the increased confidence right now in High Point with the way they're executing in the half court here.
Absolutely. 3 on the shot clock, and that one's good from Slay. Denny Slay with the long 2.
And that's a guy that only hits 23% from beyond the arc, and that was just a long 2, but still just a really good job of playing confidently by High Point. And Ohio State kind of discombobulated on the offensive end in the last 3 or 4 minutes, Jordan.
And High Point has the lead because of it. They're on a 9-0 run over the last 2:32.
This is the team that's very backcourt driven. This guy comes in off the bench, toe on the line. It still counts for High Point on the road.
On Ohio State with 7:17 to go here in this opening half. And Chris Holtman trying to draw something up to get Ohio State going again. High Point on a 9-0 run over the last 2:44. And Holt's team has been great so far this year, Sean. They're 11-1. But this is that kind of game late in the non-conference season, your final one before you get back into Big Ten play, that could easily be thought of as a trap game or one where you got to give your players a little bit of extra motivation.
You're coming off a really solid performance and quality win versus UCLA in a neutral site. Then you have the holidays, so guys come home. Then you only have a couple of days to kind of get things, reorganized, and you're playing a team that this is their Super Bowl. So if you don't come out and really kind of jump on them early, which it looked like Ohio State might do by going inside, then you can see the confidence rising by High Point, and they certainly have done that over the last 7 or 8 minutes. And that dribble drive was made possible because they stretched out Ohio State defensively from behind the arc. So Ohio State needs to go right back inside. They're already in the bonus. Go inside and try to chip away at this from the foul line.
An 11-0 run now for High Point.
High Point really doing a nice job talking and switching just about everything.
Here's Caleb Wesson, a wide open 3, and knocks it down.
The difference between that 3 and the 3 that he missed earlier, one, it came later in the possession, but also he had his feet under him. On that shot in transition that he missed kind of badly, his feet were not underneath him. As a result, the shot floated to the right.
Sean, you talked about trying to get Caleb Wesson going. That's his first basket of the game. And now C.J. Jackson off on that 3 try. And a foul on the rebound from Woods.
Offensive foul number 32, Keyshawn Woods, his second, team's third.
Caleb Wesson, footwork is important regardless of whether you're inside. And I loved what he did. He got that inside foot and he brought it back under him, so they were underneath his shoulders. As a result, he went up and came down in the same spot. The one he missed, Jordan, he kind of floated a little bit because his knees weren't bent and his feet weren't completely under him.
Here's Sanchez posting on Caleb Wesson. Hamga into a double team and a travel. Coming up on BTN, the doubleheader continues when Cassius Winston and Nick Ward lead the Spartans into action against Northern Illinois. Big Ten basketball presented by Jeep continues next right here on BTN and the Fox Sports app.
in Northern Illinois from the Mid-American Conference, coached by a former Michigan State Spartan player and former assistant Tom Izzo, and Mark Montgomery's done a really nice job in DeKalb.
Absolutely has. And now C.J. Jackson, the drive, and gets the bucket to go, and a foul.
And that's a savvy play. Because what he did is he looked off the defender and then froze him with that little bit of a pass fake. He turns the corner. Now watch what he does when the defense comes over. Right here, he fakes. Faked like he was going to kick it out to the corner. That froze the defender just enough to allow the smaller player in Jackson to get it up toward the rim.
Jackson now with 5 points. A senior from Charlotte, North Carolina. Transferred into this program from Eastern Florida State and has flourished since becoming a Buckeye. Second on the team in scoring last year, right behind Keita Bates-Diop. Jackson completes the three-point play.
Nice help.
Proctor can't get it to go, but Madison just kind of flicked that one off the backboard.
I'll tell you what, offensive rebounding has been another reason that High Point's been able to more than just hang around in this ballgame. That's their 5th offensive rebound.
Caleb Wesson, another three-try good. Not necessarily known as a three-point shooter, but he's now hit a couple in the first half.
When you don't want it to turn into fool's gold if you're Chris Holtman. And I'm sure that's what he's going to have to say. Hey, take it if you're open, but that should not be your bread and butter.
Kyle Young, another block. And now a foul on Kamga as Andre Wesson went into transition.
High Point foul number 1, Raymond Kamga, his second, team's 9.
Good job by Kyle Young of maintaining verticality, and I don't think there's any question that Andre Wesson has earned that trip to the line.
Yes, he certainly did. Andre Wesson, 74% at the free throw line.
Also entering the game for High Point number 4.
Andre Wesson, no stranger to contact. That Bucknell game a couple of weeks ago had a couple of front teeth come out, cracked another in a collision in that game. So he's wearing that mouthpiece, has had to have some dental work done.
Well, then you should follow my dietary advice. Just go extra heavy on the gravy. Moisten everything up, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Eat a bunch of soft foods.
Yeah.
High mashed potatoes diet.
That's what happens when you reach my age.
Come on. Not that old.
But how about the toughness of that guy to come back, Andre Wesson, you know, to come back and play with a mouth guard that wasn't specifically fit for him. Just a great deal of toughness. And then his brother, you know, took a shot to the mouth and he had to have a couple of stitches. So, you know, the team dentist for Ohio State was
working overtime.
Working overtime, especially when it came to the Wesson kids.
Ohio State has certainly had its bumps and bruises. And now an offensive foul against Tim Cameron. That's his second personal.
And that was just out of frustration because of the defensive intensity put forth by Ohio State. You saw C.J. Jackson dive on the floor. High Point reached down and got it. And then to try to create some space, you saw a little bit of frustration. Good call by the officials as they clear out with that inside arm on the dribble. Three-two look here. A 1-2-2 that'll kind of flatten out into a 3-2 look up top. So you have to penetrate the seams either via the dribble or get someone in the high post. There you go.
Jackson had that one tipped right to Caleb Wesson. Good find underneath, and Young gets it to go on the foul.
Solid play by Caleb Wesson, which was completed by the nice pass to Young. But you have to make yourself available. You can't be a spectator. He gets into the high post, turns and faces the defense, kicks it down to Kyle Young, and Young shows you why he shoots 70% from the floor, and Ohio State climbing back ahead.
Ohio State over High Point, and Caleb Wesson, not necessarily known as the three-point marksman, but he's hit a couple today.
Well, this one did a nice job of getting his feet set while the pass was on its way, and you thought that Wesson would do his damage inside. That has not been the case. His only 2 made field goals have come from behind the arc. Also had a nice assist, which sent Kyle Young to the foul line. But, you know, if you are Ohio State, even though those went in, you're going to say, hey, that's a nice job, but you're only 30% from out there. Let's make sure that that doesn't turn into fool's gold. And as this game unfolds, let's play through you down there on the block.
Kyle Young doesn't get the roll. Andre Wesson has it blocked out of bounds by Berlin. Ohio State shooting 43.5% here in this first half of play. High Point at 50%, which has kept them close. That 11-0 run certainly helped, but Ohio State starting to assert itself a little more as that one knocked out of bounds. Coming up, our State Farm halftime report. Mike Hall, Deion Thomas, and Jess Settle will get you updated on all things Big Ten at halftime.
And it's both those outstanding big guys in the conference will tell you, Caleb Wesson last time created a cardinal sin. He brought the ball below his shoulders and then allowed the strip.
Luther Muhammad with 11 first half points now for the Buckeyes.
And also done a very good job on this end of the floor, kind of taking away the offensive performance of Proctor. Tremendous example there. And how about the pass?
But C.J. Jackson can't finish. Gets it back, and now the Buckeyes can set something up.
That was an unbelievably solid basketball pass by Muhammad. He's like, you know what? I'm not giving it up. Go fetch it.
Muhammad now with 14 points here in the first half. And Ohio State on a 10-0 run. Make it 12-0.
That answers an 11-0 run that was put forth by High Point a little bit earlier on as the Panthers were starting to get a little bit comfortable on the offensive end.
Wright with 6 to shoot now for High Point. Long 3 from Madison, end of the shot clock. No, the rebound to Andre Wesson.
Nice block out there by Wesson on Peterson.
On the wing, another 3-try. That one off from Muhammad, but Andre Wesson gets it and then is fouled.
He also got a late Christmas gift because he got away with one. Both officials were kind of straight line. What they didn't see was the reason that Wesson was able to get that rebound. Watch the inside arm right here. Get out of here. Oop. There it is right there. Very fortunate. And what I mean by straight line is that the official on the far side could not see that because Peterson's body was between him and the line of vision, which would allow him to see what Wesson did.
Well, Wesson gets free throws out of it, but misses the first.
As the great American philosopher Rasheed Wallace once said, ball don't lie.
Exactly right. So Caleb Wesson will come out of the game. Andre trying to get at least one here at the line. Andre, the older brother of the two Wessons, knocks down that free throw. Berlin in the post against Young. And now Muhammad's going to get called for the foul.
But Muhammad is just so good defensively, even though they get him for the foul there, and releasing himself from defensive contact. If you're the offensive player, Jordan, you want to get in. Now watch what Muhammad does. Now he did foul with that inside arm. But what I mean by releasing the seal is that you don't allow the offensive guy to get his hit completely into you. You back up, and that gives you the opportunity to come in and make a play.
And now an offensive foul away from the ball. That's against Rob Peterson. So a turnover to Ohio State. The Buckeyes on a 13-0 run over the last 2.5 minutes. And what was once a High Point lead in a real close game, now an 11-point advantage for the Buckeyes. And now Muhammad travels.
That was a nice team defense Berlin came over and gave Muhammad, looked like Muhammad might be able to completely turn the corner, but because Berlin was able to slide over there, it gave Muhammad something to think about. As a result, he put his feet. I mean, Muhammad is just completely denying Proctor even the opportunity to sniff the ball on this side of the floor.
He's a tremendous defender. Madison with a nice move inside to score for High Point. 6 first-half points.
And a good job by Madison of completing, but it was made possible because High Point did a really good job of spacing the floor, which did not allow one player for Ohio State to guard two because they had proper spacing.
Andre Wesson with a strong move to the cup. Quickly back down the floor was Berlin. The travel against the senior.
And they'll give the turnover to Berlin probably, but that's on the passer. Even if he catches it, nothing good's going to happen. What did happen, which was positive for Ohio State, was Wesson, who kind of landed awkwardly, slow in getting back. That led to the breakout opportunity, or so it appeared, for High Point. But that pass, Jordan, even if Berlin's able to catch it, his momentum would take him completely underneath the basket. He wasn't going to be able to do anything productive with it.
Caleb Wesson back in, shoots over Berlin on the baseline. No. Andre saves it. Under a minute to go here in this first half. Jackson the drive, lost the handle.
Nice job by Berlin again of coming over from the weak side.
Peterson gets it to go. Rod Peterson now with 4.
And Berlin has done a nice job of coming in off the bench and providing some solid defensive help on those dribble drives. And, you know, you're in the bonus situation. Attack off the dribble, get something going toward the rim.
Wesson for 3. That's short. At the end of the clock, a long 3 try from Proctor. Got that one pretty close, but to no avail. In the 13th ranked Ohio State Buckeyes with a 37-28 lead over Tubby Smith's High Point Panthers at halftime. Coming up next, it's our State Farm halftime report. The Buckeyes in their final non-conference game before the year flips to January in 2019. And the 11-1 team looking good late in the first half. They've got the lead. 38-27 Ohio State with a 9-point advantage as we get set to begin the second half of play here at Value City Arena in Columbus. Alongside Sean Morris, I'm Jordan Burnfield. Thanks for joining us. Let's take a look at our first half stats. And High Point outshot the Buckeyes in the opening 20 minutes.
Very unusual. This is a team in Ohio State that gives up 38% shooting from the floor, 3rd in the conference in that category, 52% from the floor for the Panthers, and a lot of that coming after a slow offensive start. They were able to stretch out Ohio State a little bit defensively, but Luther Muhammad was fantastic in that first half.
Yeah, Luther Muhammad had a fantastic first half, 14 points. That is a season high for the freshman. Now time to go in the net, presented by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela.
A 40% very capable three-point shooter, albeit with not a large sample size, but once he gets his feet set, he's able to turn the corner as well. Very versatile offensive performance, but it was the defensive end of the floor that continues to impress from this young man. Yes, he got 14 points, but it was also the job that Muhammad did on the leading scorer for High Point, Proctor. Jihad Proctor came in averaging 22 points per ball game, only attempted 4 shots. One of those baskets for 4 points. One of those baskets came in transition, so not many opportunities for the leading scorer when Muhammad had the primary defensive assignment.
Well, Caleb Wesson came in leading scorer for Ohio State. He had 6 points in the first half. All 6 of those points came on threes, and Jihad Proctor with just 4 points for High Point. So it was an interesting first half, to say the least, and we'll see what we have in store here in the final 20 minutes.
Foul trouble, something to keep an eye on for High Point. 13 first half fouls. You had 5 different players with at least 2 fouls for the High Point visitors. Nice job right there by Wesson of riding the defender up the floor. And I would have been flabbergasted if the first offensive possession did not feature going inside. Even though Wesson knocked down a couple of threes, his bread and butter is right down in the paint. He showed you there why.
You've been saying all game long that they should go inside to Wesson. Now, did you go speak to Ohio State at the half?
No, like everyone else, no one listens to me.
A foul coming up. You said it, and there it was.
Well, you knew it was going to happen because they started the ball game that way, Jordan. They went inside. Remember, White had gotten 2 really quick fouls. He had to come out of the ball game. They had to go to their bench, and they got away from it a little bit. So you have a feeling that was a point of emphasis in the locker room for Ohio State, and so far that answer was received.
Here's Camden now. 5 to shoot, into the lane, and Woods redirected.
Good strong show there by Caleb Wesson. Forced the ball handler to kind of slide to the side, made it a more difficult shot.
Jackson beating Caleb Wesson. And now C.J. Jackson to the bucket, but cannot finish. The foul coming up. Jordan Whitehead will pick up his 3rd. Time now for our State Farm assist of the game, a family affair.
Nice job by Caleb Wesson of riding the defender from high point up the lane, and then a perfect interior pass over the defender, but it didn't lead his brother Caleb Wesson too far underneath the basket that he couldn't do something productive with it for our State Farm assist of the game.
Caleb Wesson now with 8 points. Of course, Caleb and Andre's father, Keith Wesson, played at Ohio State.
He was
in the
good.
80s. Yeah, absolutely. Now his 2 sons playing here at Ohio State. It's a pretty good legacy. Here's Kamga, the drive, no. And it bats around the Woods, and now on the run is Jackson ahead of the pack to lay it in.
Small thing, but an important thing. The pass from Woods led Jackson right into a shooting motion. He only had to catch it and put it on the floor once because the pass led Jackson to the offensive end.
Out of bounds to Ohio State. The Buckeyes with a good start here in this second half.
Now watch where this pass is. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to make the recipient run and pick up the pace. If it's behind him, he has to break stride. That allows the defense to recover. Woods did a very, very good job of leading his teammate toward the basket.
Brother to brother again, and Caleb Wesson now with 10. No question of whether these two would have chemistry, because you grow up together, I figure you're going to know where the other one's going to be on the court.
You're going to have chemistry, and as someone who loves his brother very much, you're also going to have a few scraps along the way.
Exactly. Here's Holland for 3. Off target, the rebound underneath Sanchez. Hustles it up, but is fouled underneath.
Yeah, and that's one where Sanchez, there's no other way to put it, he just outworked Caleb Wesson. When the ball was in the air, Jordan, he came underneath the basket, then came back out and really kind of flipped the script in terms of blocking out. Because Sanchez gave himself up, he came underneath the basket, he was able to get Wesson on his hip.
Caden Sanchez, an exciting day for him. Redshirt freshman from Columbus, went to St. Francis de Sales, and he has a lot of friends and family in the crowd. And Coach Tubby Smith was joking that basically all the tickets that they had allotted to them went to Caden Sanchez fans. So cool for him that he gets to play here today.
He's done very well off the bench as he's drawn a tough defensive assignment for long periods of time guarding Caleb Wesson.
On the wing, a 3-try, good from Andre Wesson.
Nice job by Caleb Wesson of using that fan dribble, taking the double team out. Then they made the extra pass, good floor spacing, allowed the kick into the corner where Wesson's able to knock it down. Nice job offensively by Ohio State.
Another good game for Andre Wesson, flirting with the double-double. Andre tipped that one. It's out of bounds.
Good job of moving the basketball doesn't hit the floor, but notice the floor spacing on the perimeter. As a result, one high point defender isn't able to really negate that ball reversal when one can guard two.
Curtis Holland now with 4 points after that baseline jumper. Slows an 11-2 Ohio State run. Woods.
Nice pass.
Jackson hits the three.
Really nice job by Woods of getting in the lane, understanding that it puts the defense in a scramble situation, then a very good delivery to C.J. Jackson into the shooting pocket on that three.
Madison couldn't handle that, but it's out of bounds off of Ohio State. Andre Wesson went to try to corral it, stepped on the line.
And back to Woods, the pass from Woods. It's not just getting the ball to your teammate, it's getting him the ball in a position where he can do something productive with it. And what I mean by getting it in the shooting pocket, Woods hit Jackson where all he had to do was go into his shooting motion. It wasn't down to the left or to the right where he had to adjust.
Here's Proctor, short on the jumper, and Kyle Young grabs the rebound. Jackson, the open three around the screen, no. On the rebound attempt, a foul against Ohio State.
I think they got Wesson up top.
Yep, Andre Wesson picking up the foul. But the Buckeyes extending their lead with C.J. Jackson.
C.J. Jackson, excellent pass, right in the pocket, bottom of the well for the senior.
On BTN is brought to you by State Farm, here to help life go right. Talk to a State Farm agent today. Back here at Value City Arena in Columbus, Ohio, the Buckeyes and the High Point Panthers closing out year 2018, the final non-conference game for Ohio State, and all smiles C.J. Jackson and company right now as they have extended this lead to 19. Luther Muhammad having a great game so far, 14 points, a season high for the freshman, 5 of 7 shooting. Buckeyes have outscored High Point 14-4 since the break.
And held High Point after giving up 52% shooting in the first half. The Panthers only 1 of 6 here to start the second. And Muhammad is just, I mean, he is locking down Proctor.
There is Kamga, no off the glass. Kyle Young comes down with it, and Muhammad races ahead. And he's fouled by Proctor.
And that is a frustration foul carrying over from the offensive end of the floor for Proctor, because Muhammad really locked him down.
Later tonight, when the action ends, the Big Show takes over. Highlights from around the conference, post-game reaction straight from the arena, and in-depth expert analysis. The Big Show tonight, 10:30 Eastern, right here on BTN. Luther Muhammad good at the free throw line. Chris Holtman has to be happy to see the offensive production that he's getting from Luther Muhammad today, because we know he's a great defender, but if he can be something like this offensively in Big Ten play, that's huge for the Buckeyes. Especially from behind the arc. He came in as a more than capable three-point shooter. We talked about it earlier, 40%. That's not necessarily his game. Really better off the dribble. But if you become somebody that they have to defend regularly on the perimeter, that makes your drives and your slashes that much more effective. But this has been the end of the floor that he has impacted, not just today, but throughout the course of his freshman year here in Columbus. Madison gets that one to fall. He's now got 8. Not everyone is someone that wants to be known as a lockdown defender. You have to have that mentality, and Muhammad is one of the guys in the Big Ten. Think of a guy like Xavier Simpson in Michigan. There's certain guys that just want to defend
and enjoy it. And Keyshawn Woods enjoys passing the ball. This is a guy that came in as known as a scorer, and he can certainly do that, but the unselfish play continues to impress for the grad transfer, coming off a 10-assist, no-turnover performance versus UCLA. Ohio State now with a 20-point lead here in the second half. It's right. That one won't fall. Andre Wesson grabs it. Andre Wesson very quietly flirting with a double-double. Already has it in points. I believe that's his 8th rebound on the defensive end. Yep.
Holland nearly turned it over, but keeps. And now hoists for three and knocks it down. How about that?
And that's one where hustle kind of hurt Muhammad. He laid out for a ball he probably didn't have a chance to get and wasn't able to recover in time. That allowed a number of situations that High Point was able to exploit.
Maybe it was all by design. Wanted to move the ball at the top of the key, see if he could get the defender to follow. Yeah, probably not. Here's Woods. That's good. Keyshawn Woods now with 4. And Tubby Smith sensing the score going haywire and a timeout taken on the floor, but Ohio State cruising. Cruising here in the second half, leading High Point 56-37. With 13:35 to go, and Keyshawn Woods really impressive with the basketball.
Setting the tone with his unselfish play. How about looking off the defender, a no-look pass, and Keyshawn Woods, not just a scorer during his time here in Columbus. How about this line over the last game plus for Keyshawn Woods? 14 assists, no turnovers.
That's pretty good. I think his coach is going to like that for sure.
I tell you, he likes it more, his teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. Keyshawn Woods showing that veteran leadership that he was brought in for. Grad transfer from Wake Forest. The timeout, Jamal Wright for High Point. Proctor driving on Jackson, and there's the block. And Jackson comes away with it, a foul on High Point. Great defense right there from C.J. Jackson.
Panthers foul on 13, Jihad Proctor, his second, team's third.
Jihad Proctor in this game still just 4 points on 2 of 6 shooting. For a guy that came into this game 22nd in the nation, 22 points per game.
And he thought he might have had an opportunity with Luther Muhammad, his chief defensive nemesis, on the bench, but a really nice job by C.J. Jackson of kind of carrying the torch there on that end of the floor for Ohio State.
Jackson for 3 over Proctor. It's good.
Beautiful pass by Wesson. He made the defender make a choice on that double team. He held on to it long enough. Then when he saw the double team coming aggressively, that's when he kicked it out to C.J. Jackson. If he makes that pass too early, that opportunity's not there.
Inside, Whitehead off a good feed from Madison. Jordan Whitehead with his first bucket of the game.
Yeah, he got 2 really quick fouls and was not much of a factor in this ballgame up to that point offensively.
Look at the feed to Young. That's a big man with vision right there.
And understanding where he wants to pass if he's doing the reception. And what I mean by that is the delivery to Young led him to the rim, but it also was above his waist. Wesson comes in, makes himself available. Now watch this. Above the waist, lead your teammate to the rim. That's how you shoot 70% if you're Kyle Young. Make sure you share your per diem with Caleb Wesson.
Jihad Proctor came into this game averaging 22 points per game. He's got just 4 for the High Point Panthers. And on the flip side, Luther Muhammad, 15 points, which is a season high for the freshman.
And Proctor has really struggled when Muhammad has been the primary defender. You mentioned the scoring. You see the difference that Muhammad has made. It's also been the fact that Proctor came in averaging 16 field goal attempts per ball game. He's only had 6 shots, and we're almost at the halfway point of the second half. A big reason has been the play of Muhammad denying him the opportunity to even catch the ball.
Muhammad has done a great job defensively and has embraced being that lockdown defender for Ohio State, getting arrested at this point with Holland at the free throw line. And connects on both. 9 points for Curtis Holland III, the freshman from Churchton, Maryland.
Nice.
There's Wesson, and he's fouled by Wright.
Really good job by Andre Wesson of coming up and making himself available. Young found him. Then what you notice, Jordan, is that Wesson did the thing you're exactly supposed to do. He turned and looked up floor. He didn't drop his head. He didn't look to his sideline. He looked to his basket and found his brother and teammate, Caleb Wesson, along the back line.
Caleb Wesson today, 10 points for Ohio State. 6 of them have come beyond the three-point arc. Also 3 rebounds and 3 assists. Making 11 points now for the sophomore from Westerville, Ohio.
And when they play through Wesson, especially as the conference season resumes at the beginning of the year, what you just saw there is what makes him so difficult to defend. He's a very good foul shooter at 74%. So if you give there's a lot of big guys that you can give the foul and say, you know what, make them earn it from the line. When you're 70% and north, that makes you more difficult to defend around the block because you can make the team pay from the foul line.
Ohio State has been in comfortable position most of this second half now. Whitehead the miss, and if Ohio State can take care of business, finish this game off today, they'll go back into Big Ten Conference play at 12-1. They're ranked 13th in the country. Chris Holtmann, yet again, has had his team sort of exceed expectations, at least through the non-conference. What can this Buckeyes team be when the calendar flips? Because their next game is on the 5th against number 8 Michigan State. They're going to get tested right away as they go back to the Big Ten schedule.
And what's going to test them is going to be on the defensive end of the floor, and that's where they've hung their hat. You know, Michigan State can get up and down the floor, and they will pound you on the glass. But to your point, Ohio State has won in 2 different ways with 2 different teams so far in the early tenure of Chris Holtmann. You had the player of the year last year in Keita Bates-Diop, who was able to recover from an injury. You were able to go to him in clutch situations. A lot of new faces. They've hung their hat on the defensive end of the floor. They're in the top 5 in the conference in terms of scoring defense and defending the 3, as well as overall field goal percentage. So in the early going, this is going to be the end of the floor that has to kind of maintain them until they're able to get into more of a diversified offensive flow.
Look at the January schedule. They're going to have a bunch of tests early on. You go to the RAC, that's never easy to play there. Then they go to Iowa, which will be a really challenging game. And then, of course, at the end of the month, they'll have the rivalry game with Michigan. But they've got a gauntlet to start things out. I think they're going to find out a lot about what they are in the month of January, because I think it's very similar to last year to me, Sean, that they look really good. They only have 1 loss. It was to a Syracuse team that figures to be a factor in the ACC. But I think people are still wondering, are they at the top of the Big Ten or somewhere in the middle?
Well, I would put them toward the top of the Big Ten because of their ability to take their defense wherever it is that they go. Great example. You go on the road and win at Cincinnati, when they're reopening their building. You go on the road and win at Creighton. You go to a neutral site and really kind of handle UCLA very easily. That's impressive, and it all came on the defensive end of the floor. And in a couple of those situations, we've talked about the passing of Keyshawn Woods, especially against Cincinnati and Creighton. It was Woods' ability to come in and knock down shots that was the difference. But the solid thing that has been consistent has been on the defensive end of the floor for this very young Ohio State team.
Defense has been looking good again today. Denny Slay picks up the foul. The first half, High Point shot over 50%, but that percentage has been falling steadily in the second half, where they've really locked things down. Washington too strong on the floater. Rebound comes out to Madison.
Nice job defensively there by Washington of coming out hands high.
There's Cameron around a couple defenders. No, the rebound to Andre Wesson.
Oh, you can't get loose with the ball. Yep, he got a little careless with the basketball, and High Point made him pay.
Now another opportunity for the Panthers here. Cameron works against Young. Now a 3-try from the wing for Kamga. No. Kyle Young comes up with it. But a jump ball is called, and possession will be retained by the Panthers.
We talked about Proctor not being able to get untracked offensively. You know, his teammate and running mate in the backcourt, Kamka, also came in averaging well into double digits at 15 per ball game, only one made field goal. So you've been able, if you're Ohio State, to really kind of honor the scouting report in terms of taking away the most prominent scorers for High Point.
Caden Sanchez, the Columbus area kid, back into the game for High Point. But you said, Sean, you're exactly right. Defense, when you've got defense every game, that's what travels.
And to get this many new faces, some coming via transfer, some as true freshmen, to really buy into that end of the floor, that just speaks volumes to what the coaching staff and the leadership of Chris Holtman's been able to establish as a hallmark of this program.
Last year in Holtman's first year, 26-9. They win 15 Big Ten games. They end up in the second round of the NCAA tournament before falling to Gonzaga. But extraordinary success so far for Holtman and company with Ohio State. Jackson tried to feed underneath, but that pass a little too short for Jallo. Cameron over two, no, but Sanchez there to put it back. Six points for Caden Sanchez.
Probably a good time for a post feed here. Maybe play through Wesson in some form or another, because you've gotten stagnant on this end of the floor. And because they're focused on Wesson, they were expecting maybe a dribble handoff, but Wesson just kind of slipped it, stayed at that high post, and that allowed Jackson to turn the corner.
Great speed from Jackson. And now an offensive foul, and it brings us to another timeout here in Columbus. Chris Holtman and the Buckeyes trying to move to 12-1 before the calendar turns to 2019. It's been a really strong start for the Big Ten Conference. 8 teams ranked or receiving votes in the latest AP poll. Michigan looks outstanding, 12-0, their best start since that national runner-up team in 2012-2013. One of 5 undefeateds, and Ethan Happ just doing what he does. That guy's a machine.
Well, from a 30,000-foot view, this was a conference that had 4 bids a year ago to the NCAA tournament. I would expect that to at least double this year. We've talked about Ohio State's defense, their nemesis, Michigan. They will lock you down on the defensive end of the floor, and I'm glad we had that footage there of Ethan Happ. I think it's really important that people appreciate the level of consistency and success that Ethan Happ has had in Madison. We saw his numbers there, averaging 5 assists per ball game. And you also want to mention another big guy playing 4 years has done in this league, Jordan Murphy at Minnesota. People should not take what they've accomplished for granted.
Without a doubt, those 4-year guys, you mentioned Murphy and Happ, and just so much consistency with those players.
And that gets overlooked sometimes. People get caught up in the spectacular and, you know, hey, is this guy going? Is this guy staying? All those sorts of things. And the ability and willingness to share the basketball has been phenomenal. That's the 3rd different player that we've seen make the proper and outstanding pass to a cutter. Wesson did it a few possessions ago to Young. We've seen Woods do it, and there a nice delivery from Washington.
Driving there was Proctor, but right into Wesson, could not finish the shot. Now back the other way comes High Point after the turnover. Madison backing down on Jackson. Now over Jallo puts it in.
Nice move by Madison. Good footwork, keep that pivot foot anchored, then the up and the under, the step through and the completion with the other hand. Madison's had a solid game for High Point here this afternoon.
He has. Ricky Madison now with 10 points, 7 rebounds today for the Panthers. Muhammad rises. and can't get that one to go.
A pass to the wing. They had Wesson then on a post-up.
Proctor in against the tall trees and is fouled by Ohio State.
Offensive foul number 2, Musachalo, his second, team 6.
Tomorrow on BTN, Charles Matthews and the Wolverines close out non-conference play against Binghamton. Big Ten basketball presented by Jeep. Tomorrow, noon Eastern, right here on BTN and the Fox Sports app. He's talking about Michigan and them being undefeated at this point, trying to finish out December on a high note. You mentioned their defense. It is tremendous to watch. You always think of John Beilein teams as these offensively beautiful teams. He's such a great offensive coach, but the way that they have locked down defensively is really why they're atop the country right now as one of the best 2 or 3 teams.
And that has been kind of a metamorphosis over the last 3 seasons or so where, you know, look, I'm going to bring in somebody that kind of helps me in an area. I'm an outstanding coach, but offense may be my greater area of expertise. Let's bring in somebody and kind of allow them to operate on the defensive end of the floor, and it has paid dividends. And the unselfish play of Ohio State continues to impress. But over the last 2 years, 2+ years, you would be hard-pressed to find a team that has been more solid and more stout defensively than Michigan. And when you see them in person, Jordan, what really impresses you is that they obviously honor the scouting report, but their level of communication cannot be overstated as to its importance on that end of the floor.
Great point. Washington inside, and Wesson again. Back-to-back possessions. Those two have hooked up. And Caleb Wesson now has 17. Wesson reaches in for the foul.
The last game, Ohio State had 28 made field goals, 28 via the assist. Their ratio may not be that high today, but they have still been so unselfish. And if you allow Caleb Wesson to set up shop that deep, you might as well start running the other way because it's over.
Caleb Wesson now 17 today. Caden Sanchez knocks down the free throw. Sanchez ties his season high for the redshirt freshman. 7 points in this one. A local product. Be appropriate for him to get a new season high here. So contact as both teams were jockeying for position on the rebound. And a foul on Madison. 20-point lead for Ohio State. Just over 5 minutes to go. Sets up a 1-and-1 now for the Buckeyes. Caleb Wesson today showing you when you set him up on the interior how dangerous he can be. And now Kyle Young at the free throw line. For Ohio State, they're getting ready to go into Big Ten play on a high note for this High Point team. Great opportunity for them to play here in Columbus. Of course, Tubby Smith has coached here many times, a number of years at Minnesota, among his many stops as a head coach. But a really cool thing for his players to get to play at Ohio State against a ranked team in this building.
Big time environment, and you know, we've talked about conference play. When you're coming out of the Big South, as High Point does, you know, that's really the focal point, which will lead to 3 days in late February or early March. You're essentially, you know, going to be considered a one-bid league, and what you're doing right now in games like this is hopefully, if you're High Point or schools that are kind of similar in nature, to build a level of confidence, find some things upon which you can build, because the conference season, getting seeding in that conference tournament, and then how you perform in those 3 days are really how you build a program. There are not going to be many at-large bids coming out of a league like the Big South. That's not to knock the conference, but it's essentially a one-bid league, and you like that played right there if you're Ohio State, because even though the scoreboard is starting to be more in your favor, the defensive intensity and willingness to take a charge is still there.
High Point a chance to get better, but also for Ohio State too, as they get set to reopen the Big Ten schedule. Tubby Smith now coaching at his alma mater where he's already a High Point Hall of Famer. And now personal stake in trying to build the Panthers into something special as Washington lays it in.
High Point, sometime in 2020, probably a new facility coming online for them, which will certainly help in terms of recruiting as well as benefiting current players. And in Ohio State, again, sharing the ball very, very well, be it in the half court or in transition.
Keyshawn Woods knocks down the three. 7 points this afternoon for the grad transfer from Wake Forest. Proctor inside. No. Madison there. Pinballed around, and Madison found it and laid it in. And now a timeout on the floor. Ohio State cruising towards win number 12 here in Columbus. Ohio State the lead with 3:31 to go. The Buckeyes trying to get to their 12th win of the year. Now let's take a look at this message from ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire and the official hiring partner of the Big Ten Conference.
Hiring delays were causing work to pile up. That's not smart. But you know what is smart? Using ZipRecruiter. They find people with the right skills, education, and experience for my job and actively invite them to apply. So I got qualified candidates fast. No wonder ZipRecruiter is rated #1 by employers in the U.S.
ZipRecruiter, official hiring partner of the Big Ten Conference. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Big10.
Both teams taking the floor for the final few minutes of this one today. Ohio State trying to improve to 8-1 here at Value City Arena. Jaden Ledee for the first time in this game on the floor for the Buckeyes. So Justin Arns. It's always nice when you can get these guys opportunities and minutes late in games because you never know when they can come through for you in a game down the stretch.
Especially a guy like Ledee. I've been very impressed. Had a chance to see them live against Purdue Fort Wayne a few weeks ago, and Ledee's a guy that can get up and down the floor. And let's say you get in foul trouble with Wesson and you still want to go big. This is where minutes like this can prove valuable for this Ohio State squad.
Washington picks up the foul, the freshman out of Grand Rapids.
The thing I like about Ledee, runs the floor extremely well, but we talked about Wesson and his ability to make foul shots. How about Ledee here early in his career in Columbus, an 83% foul shooter from the post position.
Ledee can be another valuable piece. Without a doubt down the stretch for Ohio State. Freshman out of Houston. Played on the same AAU team in 8th grade as starred Purdue Carson Edwards. Curtis Holland III with 11 points today for High Point, and a turnover by the Buckeyes. There's Slay going in, comes up short. There's Ledee for the rebound. I think he heard you talking about him, Sean. Woods lost the handle out of bounds. I also like, too, that Ohio State had Woods on the floor to start things out, get those young guys settled. But now Joey Lane will come into the game for Ohio State. Also Danny Hummer. And you know the fans love those guys. Hummer coming in with the defense, but picks up the foul. But coming up on BTN, the doubleheader continues. Cassius Winston and Nick Ward lead the Spartans into action against Northern Illinois. Big Ten basketball presented by Jeep continues next right here on BTN and the Fox Sports app.
A couple of weeks ago, Nick Ward, talk about efficiency, had 28 points in a ball game, 12 of 13 from the floor versus Green Bay.
That's tremendous. Can't do much better than that. Nick Ward, really exciting player, and Winston is just incredible in the open floor.
And a guy that has developed as well along that front line for Michigan State. I've been really impressed with the play of sophomore Xavier Tillman. He has done a really, really solid job of becoming a presence on both ends of the floor, because this is a team we've talked about what Ohio State lost. Michigan State lost 2 lottery picks along their front line to Jaren Jackson, as well as Miles Bridges.
Barnes going for the 3. The crowd was ready to erupt, as was the bench. And now in the corner, a 3-try off target. Ledee the rebound. And balls around to Washington. Here's another try. This is Hummer for 3. No. Hey, you got to get these guys some shots when they get out there.
Well, they're gonna get them up, that's for sure.
Why not, right? 3-try for the wing. That one is good. Dexter Gooding off the bench with his first bucket of the game, the senior from Daytona Beach, Florida. Washington tries to alley-oop it for Ledee, and a foul.
And what will happen as he matures, Ledee will go up with 2 hands, and rather than try to tip it, because that pass was off the rim, go up with 2 hands and either then try to convert while you're in the air or come down and then finish. But after I sang his praises from the foul line, let's hope that the young man converts here.
That's what we do as broadcasters.
Oh,
we
yeah.
always say how good a guy is as a free throw shooter, and then they miss.
I wish I had that kind of juice.
Yeah, it's our
but
fault.
I don't.
Sorry, Jaden. I think I have an incredible record with this, so it's not just you. Every time I mention a guy's a good free throw shooter, they miss.
It reminds me of when I was dating. It's not you, it's me.
Off target on that one. Another turnover by the Buckeyes.
And I looked over at the Ohio State bench, and even though this game is in hand, Coach Chris Holtman was not pleased with that pass, because he wants to make sure, regardless of who's on the floor, that solid game habits are exhibited. And that was just a breakdown in terms of trying to make a spectacular play rather than the solid basketball play.
That's how you build culture,
Yeah.
right? In moments like this, making sure that every detail is taken care of. That's why Chris Holtman is one of the best coaches going in the country right now.
And been coach of the year in 3 different leagues, the Big South, the Big East, and a season ago in the Big Ten. All well-deserved.
Coaching against a great one in Tubby Smith. Got to come back here to Columbus and play in Value City Arena with his young High Point team. It'll be interesting a few years from now to see what High Point is doing. It's like you said, typically a 1-bid league, but I have a feeling we're going to be seeing High Point in NCAA tournament. Tubby's taken 5 teams to the NCAA tournament.
As you take a look at that split screen there, you will not find 2 finer people. Forget about basketball, just 2 finer people than the head coaches of these respective schools.
Absolutely. Tubby Smith, 603 lifetime wins. An incredible career. 15th active coach to win 600 games.
Won a national title at Kentucky.
That's right, in the late 90s. Now under a minute to go as the non-conference season coming to a close for Ohio State. Washington fouled going in.
Washington, very good 3-point shooter at 39%, but I've been impressed today. You can tell that even over the course of the last month, that this guy has become much more confident in trying to create things off the dribble. Not only for himself as he did there, but for teammates. Remember, he was a guy a few possessions ago was able to get in the lane and deliver the nice bounce pass.
Washington with a good basketball pedigree. The nephew of 5-time NBA champ Derek Fisher. His dad, Dwayne Sr., had a little bit of an NBA career as well. Washington 1 out of 2 at the line, and Ledee showing off the hops.
And when he missed that, I have a feeling that something free may happen for these fans if they hit 80 points, because there was a gasp when he missed that free throw,
Yes.
which kept it on 79.
I was wondering about that.
And if there is some free stuff, where's mine?
I was just going to say, are they going to bring us something?
Yeah.
That would be good.
If it's free, it's me, and if there's enough, I'll take 3.
I like that. I should use that.
Feel free.
I'll make sure to give you credit.
Yeah. I need all of that I could get.
Chris Holtmann and his Buckeyes set to pick up win number 12 on the year. For Holtmann, win number 151. 8 years as a head coach and nothing but success in every stop. He started in the Big South at Gardner-Webb. Now here in the Big Ten at Ohio State. Joey Lane, a long three, and drills it. Crowd loves it. Now they're over 80, so whatever the gift is, everybody's getting it, courtesy of Joey Lane.
And I was just guessing, but I've never seen more people upset with a missed free throw when it's a 15-point game.
They don't have to worry now. Everybody on their feet. The 13th ranked Ohio State Buckeyes closed it on conference slate with a decisive win. 82-64 over High Point. And Chris Holtmann's club takes out Tubby Smith's team. And the Buckeyes are now 12-1. High Point with a pretty good start to this game. They went on an 11-0 run in the first half. They took the lead briefly. Then Ohio State, a late run in the first half to go into the break with the advantage. And in the second half, just continued to build on that. And Ohio State now 8-1 here at Value City Arena after their victory today. Young guys getting the opportunities at the end of the game. Caleb Wesson, though, 17. C.J. Jackson with 19. And a new season high as a freshman for Luther Muhammad, who scores 15 points. Exceeded his season high in the first half. Finishes with the 15, the defensive standout, with a great performance today on the offensive end as well. So 82-64, the Ohio State win. See the players all meeting in center court. And now let's go to Sean Morris, and he is with the head coach, Chris Holtmann.
Thanks, Jordan. Coach, congratulations on a hard-fought win. A lot of offensive stars, but talk about the job that you got defensively, especially taking away the backcourt of High Point. That had to be a focal point of your scouting report.
Yeah, they're really a good backcourt, Sean. And there's not many coaches I respect more than Tubby Smith. With what he's done, national championship, how many teams he's taken to the tournament. And he puts his players in great position, and they're really tough. And I give High Point a lot of credit. They were really physical and really tough. Just proud of our effort today. We need to get a lot better, but it's proud of our effort.
One guy that put forth a great effort, as he always does, is Luther Muhammad, especially on the defensive end of the floor. Coach, you've been around the game for a while. Is it rare to have a freshman that embraces the defensive end of the floor like that young man does?
I think it is. It's why one of the major reasons we recruited him. We felt like that's our identity, and we needed a guy like that because that's who he is. And you can't discount his offense. He's capable, more than capable, showed that ability today. But his ability to kind of make guys work and earn it is really important for our team.
What things as you close out the non-conference do you want to carry over from this game as you get ready to resume conference play after the beginning of the year?
Does Big Ten play start?
Yes, sir.
Okay, not that I had sleepless nights, but I'm certainly not going to have any here moving forward. I think our league's maybe the best in the country, certainly one of them. Incredible coaching, tremendous teams, teams that you learn a lot from just watching. So we need to get a lot better, Sean, and hopefully we will moving forward because it's a heck of a league.
Coach, congratulations on a non-conference win. Enjoy the rest of your season.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Jordan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Sean, and thank you, Coach Holtman. Ohio State, the big win today. That's going to do it from Columbus. 82-60 for the final. The Buckeyes move to 12-1. Stay tuned. Michigan State and Northern Illinois coming up next. For Sean Morris, I'm Jordan Burnfield. Thanks for watching this exclusive presentation of the Big Ten Network.